March of 2019, the Indiana State Board of Education will decide what's next for three Indianapolis schools currently under state control. Emma Donnan Middle School, T.C. Howe Community High School, and Emmerich Manual High School struggled for years to improve academic performance. Then in 2012, the State Board intervened and removed operational control from Indianapolis Public Schools. They called each school a turnaround academy and hired Charter Schools USA to operate each of these schools. Today, Donnan, Howe, and Manual remain under state control with CSUSA as school operator. However, the State Board intends to remove each school from state intervention in June 2020. Essentially, it must decide what happens to a school after it stops operating as a turnaround academy and who the schools are turned over to. The State Board is turning to the community to help it answer these questions. A school transition task force made up of 7 local leaders representing a range of stakeholders in the schools has been organized to gather input from these communities. Since September, they've met monthly to study the choices available for each school and recommend one of 3 options set forth in the state's school accountability laws. Each option requires the transition task force undergo an in-depth study of factors that might shape its recommendations, studying the long and short-term implications for each option and how it affects students, families, and the school's broader communities. The task force is exploring each option and considering their implications so we might better understand the potential future of each school. The first option requires the SBOE return each turnaround academy to its original school corporation, Indianapolis Public Schools. What might that mean for Donnan, Howe, or Manual? In September of 2017, the IPS School Board approved a plan for the district's high schools entitled Reinventing IPS High Schools. The plan explained the district's intention to operate just 4 main high schools and not operate Howe or Manual as high schools if either was returned to IPS once released from state intervention. Although it is not related its plan for the school buildings, the district believes it could effectively absorb the students at Howe and Manual within its current set of schools. What about Donnan? The options are a bit different for Emma Donnan Middle School. In 2015, IPS and CSUSA agreed to start an innovation school, serving students kindergarten through 6th grade within the Emma Donnan building. Now in its 4th year, CSUSA essentially operates 2 schools within the Donnan facility. The school's K-6 elementary occupies Donnan's 1st floor, and its 7th-8th turnaround middle school occupies the facility's 2nd. According to its contract, if IPS and CSUSA elect to renew their partnership in 2020, Emma Donnan would automatically become a kindergarten through 8th grade IPS innovation school operated by CSUSA, effectively absorbing the school's turnaround academy and ending state oversight. Given indications that CSUSA and IPS are likely to renew their partnership agreement for Donnan, the task force has focused the majority of its work on the implications of the options available at T.C. Howe and Emmerich Manual. This second option requires the State Board to direct the school's current management team, CSUSA, to pursue a charter. This would require CSUSA apply to one of the state's charter school authorizers for the authority to operate Manual and/or Howe as a charter school. Consistent with state laws governing all Indiana charter schools, Howe and Manual would be required to be open to all students, regardless of academic background or circumstance, and would have to meet various academic and operational standards dictated by the authorizer, which is the authority from which either school receives its charter or license to operate with public funding. The final option the State Board must consider involves closing one or more of the schools or merge it with a higher performing school in the area. This option would require the SBOE oversee a transition of each school's students and staff members. In such a case, IPS would retain ownership of each facility and decide the most appropriate purpose of its buildings and grounds. Early in its discussions, this task force identified community input to be among the factors essential in developing its recommendations. In order to gather this input, the task force organized a series of community meetings in the areas near each school. Thus far, over 300 students, teachers, parents, neighbors, and local business owners have joined the task force to voice their opinions on the futures of Donnan, Howe, and Manual. Over 250 stakeholders have also lent input via surveys, relaying their connection to these schools and lending their input as to the best option for the students, families, and communities. Seeking further input, the task force has organized 2 additional opportunities to learn about the potential futures for these schools and the latest developments in the work of the task force. The next meeting is on Tuesday, January 29th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Irvington United Methodist Church at 30 North Audubon Drive on the east side. The task force will host its 4th community meeting on Wednesday, February 6th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. at the Tube Factory Art Space at 1125 Cruff Street on the south side. The community meetings are open to all and offer free childcare for any family who might need it. If you have an interest in the future of these schools or the policies of state intervention, please join us for one or both of these important meetings. If you are unable to attend, there are still ways to be a part of this important discussion. Please check out our Facebook and Twitter pages for the latest info, links to our online surveys, and more. The next chapter in the lives of Indy's turnaround academies, and specifically T.C. Howe Community High School and Emmerich Manual High School, depends in part on the input of the communities served by these schools. The School Transition Task Force is looking for your help. Share your input. Get involved today.